Yo ho ho! What's going on, guys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you another topic video for the week. Today we're going to be covering a point of discussion, strong speculation, and powerful theories. Today we're going to be discussing God, the concept that is God in One Punch Man, and the reality of the situation or the fake reality. Either way, we'll get into it in a second. If you guys want to support the channel and join the family, check out the community Discord below. We talk about everything in there. If you want to support the channel, we have a bunch of different tiers. You can support with like $5 to $100, with a bunch of different privileges along the way. Let's get it started. So, while rereading both the introduction of God to Homeless Emperor and the introduction to God to Psychos, there were some similarities and some differences. Now, the similarities between the two are obviously going to be the common factors. We're trying to find, or we're trying to derive from the information of the influence that these two characters have had while being around him. We're trying to derive his true character or his true demeanor, what his true nature is. So, one thing that's consistent. Let's start. I think we should start by pointing out some of the things that are like consistent or the same, similar amongst the two. So, one of the things that I noticed is that both Psychos and Homeless on their own spurred the thoughts, the words that it was God. Like Psycho said, it's as if it was God or like God or something like that. And then Homeless literally says God appeared before him. So Homeless is completely convinced, while Psycho's got that image along with what it already actually was. So maybe it's safe to derive that from this instance. We're pretty safe to say that, like, one second, bro. All right, so we're pretty safe. We can be pretty confident that I think most likely one's trying to tell us that this is this character's name for sure. It is going to be God. Now, the other thing that was mentioned both times, and we'll dive into this a little bit later on, is that they both ended up stating that they wanted to kill humanity. Now, it's just weird, or there's a stipulation to this commonality. Homeless went on a mental spiral after he got into this whole debacle at work, and like was mentally deteriorating to the point that he believed that he needed to kill himself. And the process that got him there was like the overall hate for all humans, and remembering that like the world and nature is so great that no, like he's insignificant, humans are insignificant, and that like dying is the only way to return back to the motherland, to like truly be with nature or whatever. And then that's when God came to him in the last commonality, in the moment of greatest need. He also came for Psychos in the moment of greatest need. Maybe we could talk about Tatsumaki being around here, being in an important moment, but and that might be why. Another thing to note, that like when Tatsumaki was threatening Psychos directly, it was Orochi that saved her and interfered, not God. So that may allude to something or may not allude to something. Whatever the situation is with that, all I'm saying is that God seems to show up to individuals whenever they need it most, or in moments of great vulnerability. He seems to affirm, maybe not implant. That's the part that's difficult to like really derive from the information that we have, because on Psychos' side, she was already like in the middle of a plan to like basically annihilate humanity. Like she even made like this fake ploy, sending her eye with a parasite messenger to actually the association members to talk to them. And for a moment they thought that like they wanted to negotiate and like live in peace amongst humans, but that wasn't the case. We didn't really get a clear like designation as to the complete goals of Garou and the Association, but we know when it does involve destroying the Hero Association. So that's at least one part. Whether it's the entirety of humanity, we don't know. So it can still be said that God influencing these two characters pushed them to an escalation, pushed their mentality to a farther extreme. This could be because of the power's general amplification, or the nature of the power up in general, that it amplifies all aspects of an individual: their personality, their demeanor, their powers, their physical capabilities, physical resistances. A variety of factors could be amplified with the power up that God is clearly giving to these two individuals. Or it could be that he's actually like implementing this thought, this ideal, this theorem, this concept, this goal of his into their brains. It's the exact opposite, the exact contrast to what Homeless was thinking himself, to the goal that he to the final point of logic that he was spiraling down towards. To kill himself, not to kill others, to kill himself. To hit for him to fulfill, I guess, his new desire of returning to nature. He was going to kill himself and end himself. But now in turn he's going to kill all of humanity instead. It's somewhat of a it's conceivable because of what he was saying. He was indeed saying that humanity was trash, but removing himself from trash was the option that he went with, not removing all the trash. So that's one really strongly, powerfully incriminating point against God. On Psycho's side, because she already had achieved such high goals of prestige, mentioned so many times throughout the series, and it's inconceivable to think that somebody could unite so many dragons under like the same lead and like have them actually cooperate successfully. But that's exactly what Psycho's managed to do with the assistance of Orochi. That's exactly what they managed to get through, and she even managed to, with her own willpower, compete and struggle up against Orochi's willpower in his weakened state, albeit. But we saw that. So, sure, we could argue that God implemented an idea of genocide to remove all of humanity instead of particular special goals. But with Psychos is not as clear. And I'm waiting to see if like maybe a different translation can clarify that. Maybe if some more chapters, consequential chapters, will get more information to clarify the situation about her true intentions, or maybe just a reread will help me understand the scenario all in all a little bit better. But regardless of that, those are some things that they have in common, and that both situations have in common. And we can derive for a fact that this character's name is indeed going to be God, and that he's showing up kind of how like the stereotypical God would when you need him most. So it's kind of clever that one in without her using like that. Now here's something else that, how do I put this? I don't think that these are exact powers. Now, we mentioned in a little bit a while ago that some of this could be reality and some of it could not. Like, for example, the fact that they are stronger. These two characters have gotten powers. That's part of the reality. But the way that God portrayed himself to Garou, to Psychos, that didn't seem like reality. Especially because we were there in real time during the fusion. Chapter in, chapter out, we saw the results of that. And there's a cover page that actually alludes to some information, to some scenes that we didn't see that kind of connects it. A cover page with like the cerebral spread everywhere. It seems like that's what Psychos is actually seeing, which is kind of badass. And I'll do a reread. We'll do a reread to put that together cohesively. But reread the entirety of the Psychos fight to see what I'm talking about. But that happened in an instant. So as I mentioned before, that would imply that God has the ability to influence either from afar, or he's that fast to come in there, present himself like that in minuscule time. And it didn't even seem like it was that, like, Psychos herself mentioned that it seemed as if time had stopped. And her reactions or facial expressions, it didn't seem like they were hurried or rushed or at an extreme speed. So it's kind of hard to like, it's honestly the point of contention. Like, which part of these things actually happened? Which part of these things were influenced mentally from God? So, to list out some of his powers. If we're going to take the time-stopping thing into reality, that's one. Now, I think this is our strongest indication of mental manipulation, of mind control. So I'm going to count that for that. The fact that Psycho said that it was as if time had stopped, and we saw the physical appearance of this planetoid cerebral brain cell neuron mass in front of her wasn't there. So we're going to consider that mind control. Giving power, amplifying abilities. We don't know if God is just amplifying existing powers or giving new ones. In Homeless's case, we were told that he didn't have abilities. He went into a spiral mentally, and then in this encounter, he got powers out of nowhere a few weeks ago, or a week ago, a few days ago. So that could be an instance of just spawning abilities. But it was, I did notice, others noticed and pointed out that Psychos' ability to like suck up through that like gelatinous like goop mass is something that Orochi had on himself. And the beam that she's pulling out, Orochi was also able to throw out beams. So, and Psychos also had those eye beams, those eyes lasers, and coincidentally, the whole little delta shape that she made from her eye down to her chest may coincide with that. We don't know. I think it's safe. I think we're in enough shallow waters to say that it's uncertain whether she's just spawning powers, or God's just spawning powers, or amplifying existing ones. We don't know. We know that for any reason anybody can mutate. So there's a bunch of different possibilities that could be happening. Dr. Genius himself has made several specimens. Garou has told us that like by stressing a bunch of different individuals or all kinds of individuals, you can get them to power up or get to different extremes. So there are plenty of ways that are different, special, and unique to give individuals powers. This is a new one. With that being said, in conclusion, I do believe that God's intentions are negative. I do believe that he intends to assault the mass or the entirety of humanity. And I do believe that he's using some of the strongest entities that he's encountering to do that. Now, they're not necessarily heroes, but they're not necessarily affiliated with monsters exactly. Coincidentally, I've been wanting to make this connection for a long time because we've been talking about it. Somebody mentioned it in the podcast, but like, these are humanoids. They're not exactly monsters. Like, Garou isn't a monster. She just has powers. Same thing for Homeless Emperor. He's not a monster. He just has powers. So, maybe he's influencing them because they're like that, because they're humans. I'm waiting to see if he is going to influence a monster, a straight-up monster. We'll see how that plays out. It would be interesting to see if God himself is actually a human with just powers. Because that's my actual belief. And he's really just a monster or a human with powers. It's interesting to see how powerful he's going to be. I'm interested to see, like, what he can really do. It's really vague right now. Like, we really don't have a good grasp on his powers. Mind control, giving powers, like, stopping time. These things aren't really, like, they're just hints and little derivatives that we can pull out from, like, the coincidences and the similarities between both scenarios in which he was said to be involved. I don't really know. This is just what we have on the first look. And once we get more information in consequential chapters, we'll be doing a deeper dive into the phenomenon that is God. Yo ho ho!